Hello again. Buzzwords like racism are exceedingly useful in preventing free discussion of things such as immigration, patriotism, employment practices, the National Health Service, or indeed anything else which some folk would rather that we did not talk of or ask too many questions about. Crying racist is an example of what are sometimes called dog whistles. These words or phrases summon up certain feelings and emotions and call people of a particular type to come and join a lynch mob. Remember when historian David Starkey was called a racist because he objected to people talking about the genocide of black people? In next to no time, his publisher dropped him. He was shunned by television producers, and various academic institutions cut ties with him. He became a pariah overnight, simply and solely because the cry of racist was raised. Much the same thing happened to James Watson, perhaps the most famous scientist in the world, who along with Francis Crick discovered the structure of DNA in the 1950s. You don't need evidence these days for virtual lynch mobs of this kind. All that is required is enough people shouting racist at the top of their voices. A man wants immigration brought under control? Must be a racist. Somebody points out statistics relating to ethnicity and crime in Britain? Racist. And not one person in 1,000 ever stops to think what is meant by the word. It is enough that using it causes a crowd to gather and start chanting and denouncing somebody. Let's stop for a moment and ask ourselves whether David Starkey, who was dismissive of the idea that black people had actually been subjected to genocide, actually hates and despises black people. Very unlikely. Does he subscribe to the view that black people are genetically inferior to white people? There's no evidence whatsoever to suppose so. He is therefore almost certainly not a racist, but rather an irritable man who was scornful about a silly idea. Once the cry of racist had been raised, though, and the mob had gathered, that was enough to destroy his reputation and academic career and ensure that he was practically ruined financially. The truth is, it's not necessary to define racism or debate what it does or does not mean. There are at least three meanings of racism, but because nobody ever specifies which of them are being used in a particular case, the accused person cannot even begin to put together a defence. You might as well accuse someone of being an enemy of the people. It's a meaningless piece of abuse. This is, of course, the great beauty of the word racist. It can mean anything at all that you want it to. If the person you accuse of racism can prove that he doesn't dislike black people and is not prejudiced against them in the slightest degree, that's all right. You can say that the racism you're talking about related to the inherent power imbalance in society, and that because he is white, he's part of that system. Ha! Get out of that. He's a racist simply because he happens to be white. Racist is a catch-all accusation which is seldom made in good faith, and those who use it do not really care what they mean by it. It trumps all argument and reason, needs no evidence, and allows you to win a debate without having even to frame a proper sentence. We live in a new era of McCarthyism, where the accusation is almost synonymous with guilt, and the accused person is expected to demonstrate or prove his or her own innocence, which is usually impossible.